Welcome to the Macke Makerspace. Hi, I'm Brother Bob Macke, Curator of Meteorites at the Vatican Observatory. And here at the Macke Makerspace, I usually make projects based on my own personal interest. But today I'm working on something that was specifically requested to help out the observatory. Our main telescope is the Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope, or VAT, located on Mount Graham in Arizona. And right now, there is an effort underway to robotize the VAT, that is, to make it able to operate on its own or remotely according to a specified observing plan. Now that's going to be very expensive, and the Vatican Observatory Foundation is trying to raise funds to support this project and other scientific efforts. So that's where I come in. They asked me to design a mascot for this project, a little robot version of the telescope. I call it Vatty. And a model of Vatty, handmade by yours truly, will be given to people who make a significant contribution to help out the robotization effort. So stay tuned to find out how you can get one of your very own. Now, the one that I'm making today is for Sister Raffaella Petrini, the Vatican Secretary General. She saw the prototype and personally requested one. And who am I to say no to the Secretary General? So let's get to work. Of course, you have to start with a good design. I designed Vatty using Tinkercad, and for the pose, I wanted it to be moving forward, much like the robotization project itself. Once designed, I sliced it in Prusa Slicer. I set 0.1 millimeter layer height, and I made sure that everything was well supported. And now it's off to the printer. With the small layer height, it's going to take several hours to print, and even sped up, that'll take a while. So while we're waiting, let's talk a little bit about the VAT and what makes it special. The most notable feature of the telescope is its mirror. The VAT utilizes the first ever spin-cast mirror developed by the Stewart Observatory at the University of Arizona. So what is spin casting? It's a cool way to make very large mirrors. Traditionally, to make a mirror, you would start with a huge block of glass, and then you would grind it, and grind it, and grind it some more, until eventually you have a nice bowl shape that, when given a reflective coating, would bring starlight into focus. Now, there are several drawbacks to this technique, and one is that for a multimeter mirror, it could take years to grind away all that glass. So a guy named Roger Angel at Stewart Observatory came up with a great idea. Lay out a bunch of glass in a big rotating furnace. That's right, the whole furnace rotates. That's the spin in spin casting. The glass melts into a liquid, and because the whole thing is spinning, the centrifugal effect forms it into a nice parabolic shape, which is exactly what you want for a telescope mirror. Then you keep the furnace rotating as it cools and resolidifies, and voila! All that's left is to polish it to perfection. On top of that, because the mirror is cast in a special mold, you can do more with it. The backing is a hollow honeycomb structure, which removes a lot of the weight. The honeycomb also helps it maintain thermal equilibrium with the surrounding air, preventing thermal warping of the mirror. In the end, you end up with a very light, large mirror that can be made in a matter of months rather than years. In addition, you can make a very deep parabola that gives it an incredibly short focal length. The VAT mirror is at f1 with a focal length matching its 1.8 meter diameter. That means a much more compact telescope. In fact, the VAT has such a fast focus that the secondary mirror is actually placed after the primary focus. And that's got its own advantages, but I'm starting to run too long here, so let's get back to the build. So it looks like the printer is coming along nicely. After many hours, the printer is finally done with these parts, so it's off to the workbench. And I have to be really careful removing it from the base, because back when I made the prototype, I managed to rip the foot off. and so it's best to shim it out with a knife blade. But now there's all those supports to remove. I'll use a pair of pliers for that. This will take a while, so let's kick it into high gear. All that just for the arms and legs. Now to print and clear all the other parts. Oh, we're far from done. There are print lines and some rough edges where the supports were, and that means sanding. And sanding. And some more sanding. A little more. Am I done yet? Not even close. The cage for the secondary mirror was tricky to print. A resin printer would have done better, but I don't have one yet. For the primary mirror, I'm grinding away at the print lines with a rotary tool. After sanding everything to 500 grit, I gave it a wipe with a damp rag in preparation for painting. So most of the parts get secured to the paint stand with double sticky tape. And now to my makeshift spray booth outside. These parts will get a solid base coat of traffic yellow, which is the color of the vat armature. And the mirror gets sprayed silver. And the base gets light gray. The deep black crevices of the logo and text contrast nicely with this color. Once the paint has dried, the mechanical parts of the robot get painted metallic gray. So does the secondary mirror. The shoulders and collar will be light gray to match the telescope. A dark wash will add contrast to the details and also make it look like it's seen some use. It's particularly important at the joints. The underside of the base is personalized for each recipient and given a unique number. A dark wash will make it more visible. Now let's assemble the telescope. The secondary mirror will pop into its cage. It's a tight fit, and I have to be careful not to break the delicate parts. And here I'm being careful not to touch the silver of the mirror with my fingers. A fingerprint would mar the paint job. With the cage placed on the mirror mount, I can snap the assembly onto the armature. It won't be glued, so it can still rotate up and down. A small piece of toothpick will help hold the instrument package in place. And in case you're wondering, this happens to be the spectrograph. And now the telescope, the head of the robot, is done. To assemble the body, I've created a special jig to hold everything in its proper place. The torso slides right in there. The leg gets glued into the socket, and then positioned on the jig. The same for the other leg. I'm letting the glue on each limb cure before attaching the next. For the head, I start with a tiny dowel to align it on the neck. I just eyeball the rotation. I want it to be looking slightly to the left. A bit of dark wash at all the joints will help hide the glue marks and will blend the pieces together. Now it glues onto the base. The model can't stand on its own, so it needs some support until the glue dries. And now it is done. Well, I think this thing came out really well, and I look forward to presenting it to Sister Raffaella Petrini. Now, if you would like to help out the Vatican Observatory, or even just to learn a little bit more about it, there is a link in the description below. And if you would like to have a Vatty of your very own, please contact the Development Director of the Vatican Observatory Foundation. His contact information is in the description. So that's all for today. Please like and subscribe and all that YouTube-y stuff. It'll help people find this content. And until later, see you next time.